Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
After blustery conditions and cold temperatures forced the Tide indoors on Monday in Orlando, Bama was back outside at Dr. Phillips High School for today's practice. The Tide worked out in full pads for a little more than 2 hours. After practice concluded, the team took in an afternoon of fun and a tour at Universal Studios in Orlando. Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm Gary Harris. Tonight, courtesy of Buffalo Rock, we're enjoying ice cold Pepsi. You've already cheated and had a couple drinks of yours. I just love to pop that top on the air. But Buffalo Rock, remember, when you need a soft drink that will keep you refreshed, they're the people to remember in Tuscaloosa and Alabama. Well, Alabama and Michigan State will square off on Saturday at noon. You know, you can make the argument that 2010, Rodney, was a disappointment for both teams for different reasons. Let me explain. Alabama entered the year with high hopes of repeating as national champions. The Tide #1 in every preseason poll, but those hopes were dashed after losses to South Carolina, LSU, and Auburn. Alabama finished 4th in the SEC West. Michigan State, meanwhile, had a terrific year, one of the best years in the history of their program. So why were they disappointed? Well, 3 teams finished with 1 loss in the Big Ten. 2 of those teams, Wisconsin and Ohio State, are in BCS bowls, while Michigan State is playing Alabama in the Capital One Bowl. So both teams going to be motivated for different reasons in this game. Rodney, Alabama looking to put a positive spin on 2010 and finish with 10 victories for the 3rd straight year. Michigan State looking to prove that they belong among the elite in the nation. So I guess the logical question, who will be more motivated to play in this football game?
Well, I mean, you know, you can look at it, and you've already detailed all those things. It's just a matter of which team's prepared, which team wants to win. And again, as we've seen Alabama throughout this season, though they are going for their 10th win, it's certainly not a disastrous season by any stretch of the imagination. Gary, they're a team that's been up and down. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see how Alabama approaches this bowl game. How much does it really mean to a team coming off the national championship?
Yeah, Rodney, great point, and more on that now. Some people have said Alabama at times this season has looked like 2 different football teams. When the Tide has been good, I mean, they've looked dominant at times. But we saw it all in the Auburn game. We saw Alabama at its best. That first 25 minutes or so was as well as the Tides played all year, dominating the game midway through the second quarter, 24-0, 340 yards of offense to 2. And then Alabama in the second half, I hate to use this word again, but they just collapsed.
Fell apart. No question about it, Gary. And that's, you know, that's kind of been the season. You know, you even go back to the Arkansas game. If you remember, Alabama played so poorly in the first half, came back late in the first half, then in the second half, in the late in the 3rd quarter, and, you know, played well, and they've just only played well in spurts this season. For whatever reason, they haven't been able to really put a full game together. And I know that Marcel Darius said yesterday in the player comments after practice, that's really what they're looking forward to trying to do in this game, even though it's the last game. And, you know, people say, well, there's not a lot really riding on this game. You know, Alabama certainly wants to try to put together its best game of the year against Michigan State. And you talk about Michigan State, Gary, this is probably their best season since 1966 when they won the national championship.
You could argue if they win this game, it
might be the best season, no question
certainly
about it.
Certainly will rank up against that one other than not winning the national championship.
And, you know, I know a lot of people, I haven't heard as much talk about it anyway, you know, the Big Ten versus the SEC. Certainly they have something to prove in that regard because the SEC gets so much publicity, and, you know, the Big Ten takes a hit in terms of, you know, comparison to the SEC. So there is some conference pride there.
You know, one thing that's interesting, Rodney, Alabama in 12 games this year was the betting favorite in every game, and that will continue in this game. The Tide is about a 9-point favorite against Michigan State. So once again, I guess Michigan State can play we're not getting in respect card because they've got 1 loss, yet they're the big underdog in this game.
And I think they're going to play really well, Gary. I think they're going to use that. I think they've got a lot of motivation. I expect Michigan State to play, you know, an outstanding football game against Alabama. I think it's going to be a very close game, and it's going to be an interesting game because these 2 teams are very similar. Of course, we know Mark D'Antonio's ties to Nick Saban, so, you know, I think it's going to be very interesting.
You know, one thing about this Michigan State team, when you look for keys to their success, in one way they remind me a lot of Auburn. Veteran offensive line. You know, that offensive line in 2009 was a disappointment. but they've got a lot of fifth-year guys up there, and they have been solid across their front line. And offensively, they're a very balanced football team.
Yeah, they are. And, you know, the quarterback Cousins has had an outstanding season. They have an outstanding running back who went for over 1,000 yards this year. And you mentioned the offensive line. Marcel Darius talked about that yesterday. You know, when you look at it, sometimes people think the offensive lines or the linemen in the Big Ten are big and slow, but he talked about how quick they were, and they're an outstanding group as a whole.
All right, Rodney, later on we'll make our predictions on the game. But up next on Tider Insider TV, the Bama players took time out of their trip to give back to local youth in Central Florida. We'll have this very special story. Plus, we'll be getting your phone calls and answering your emails. I know you're anxious to talk to us about the bowl game and talk to Rodney about recruiting. 205-348-WVUA is the number. That's 348-9882. Or you can email us, TITV@WVUATV.com. And later we'll talk recruiting, as I mentioned. We'll have the very latest on several top prospects, including this man. Hard to get a read on what's going on with Dr. Phillips High School running back D. Hart. But Rodney will have the latest. Stay tuned. You're watching the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the one, the only Tider Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock Bottling Company. Welcome back, everybody. We'll continue with Tider Insider TV in just a moment. But first, I want to talk to you about Nuke's Express Cafe, 205 University Boulevard East, just up from the University of Alabama campus in Tuscaloosa. One of my favorite places to eat. Whether it's lunch or dinner, they've got you covered 7 days a week. Go into a relaxed atmosphere. Walk up to the counter, order. They'll give you a number. You sit down. They'll bring your food out to you fast and fresh. Whether it's an oven-toasted sandwich, a California-style pizza, a hand-tossed salad, or one of those homemade soups, everything's made with fresh ingredients. They've got a beer and wine menu as well. Call them for your catering needs, 758-2455. And don't forget about that terrific dessert menu featuring cakes, brownies, and Rice Krispie treats. Well, the Crimson Tide has been in Orlando since Christmas night, and their first bowl activity this week was a trip to Disney World's Disney Quest on Sunday. It wasn't just a quest for fun, though, but rather a chance for the Bama players to spend time and make a difference in the lives of children in need.
We're here at Disney Quest, here to have some fun, here to play some games with a couple of kids and with other teams, West Virginia, Michigan State, and NC State. Just here to have fun.
It's great, you know. We came up here. I haven't been to Disney World in a long time. We're having a great time. This is my buddy Jack, and he just got the top score at Mighty Ducks over there, beating everybody. Every game we do, he's winning, so it's fun.
Now, who's your favorite player now?
Will. That's what's up.
Well, you know, it means a lot. You know, a lot of kids don't get to come to Disney, and you know, fortunately, these guys, you know, like you said, they're going through a lot of problems, and you know, we're here trying to help out. You know, it's a great environment. It's a lot of fun, a lot of things to do. You know, a lot of guys are smiling and having fun.
They assigned, you know, a couple of players each to each kid, and we've gotten to know, you know, our kid, and it's been really fun to just kind of get to hear where, you know, where he's coming from, and just to watch him, you know, smile and have fun.
A lot of these kids, they watch us, you know, growing up, and we role models for them, and just making their day, you know, and just have them something to look back on, you know, in life, and just getting them somebody to look up to as well, you know.
They always look up to us, and we're role models to them. So just be able to come here and meet them and spend some time with them is fun and exciting for us. And it's something that I enjoy. I know a lot of the guys always enjoy just coming back and be able to give back to them and make some of their dreams come true.
Thanks to our friends at Crimson Productions and TITV for that terrific piece on the Alabama football players taking some time to give back. And WVUA Sports will be at the Capital One Bowl. Our John Huddleston and Todd Hoyer will be making the trip down to Orlando tomorrow. Our coverage on our newscast will start on Thursday and last through the game on Saturday. So, of course, they'll be there, and we'll have a complete recap for you next week on Tider Insider TV. Well, coming up on Tider Insider Television, signing day is just over a month away, and Rodney will have the latest on several of the Tide's top uncommitted prospects. Plus, we'll be taking your phone calls and getting to your emails. Jot down the number there, 205-348-9882. Give us a ring, and we'll talk football recruiting and more next when Tider Insider TV continues here on WVUA TV.